What's good, YouTube? This video is going to be about dating potential. I probably shouldn't have to say this, but I always have to say this. Every year I have to say this in some form or some fashion. Stop dating a man for his potential. Date who a man is, the human being, the person, the spirit, the energy he is right now. Stop trying to figure out how to make a man nicer to you, how to make a man have more integrity, how to make a man want what you want, how to fit a square peg into a round hole. Right? A lot of times people say, well, don't date potential, and they're talking about finances. I'm gonna be honest. I think if you're young and you have time to grow, building with a young man who has potential while operating your own potential and growing together is a great thing. That's how me and my wife started. I was broke. I didn't have shit, but now she hasn't had to work in about 8 or 9 years. Okay. So you can have a great life with a person just because they're not rich. A lot of y'all are chasing rich. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about potential, like behavioral potential, moral potential, love potential. A lot of you are dating men who don't want love, but you think that one day, if they just saw some value in love, that they would do you better and that they would be better people to be with. And that's just not true. You're dating a man based on what you want him to be, not what he is. Stop doing that. If a man isn't what you want him to be right now, today, I'm talking about intrinsically. I'm not talking about his pockets. I'm talking about intrinsically. If a man isn't who you need him to be right now, instead of trying to change him, instead of subjugating yourself to the toxicity and to the beating and abuse and badgering and trauma that you're going to get from a relationship with the wrong person, again, trying to fit a square peg into the round hole, you need to just move on. When you date a man for his potential, you're dating your fantasy, but you're not living your fantasy. If when you look at a man and the reason why you stay with him is for what he could be and not what he is, then you're the one playing you. A lot of women take on trauma trying to change people, trying to upgrade them, trying to evolve them, trying to grow them. And if a person is unwilling to do that right now, especially when you just met them and you just decided that you have a crush, you got to move on. You wouldn't believe how many phone calls I've had with clients who told me about how great a guy could be if he just only started to believe in her, or only started to believe in love, or just stopped cheating so much, or just stopped using women for a pastime. He's a really nice guy and he's really sweet if he would only just stop doing thus and so to me, or believing this way about love, or having this idea about relationships, he would be perfect. Stop trying to perfect a man. If a man doesn't want that for himself or see that in himself, then you imagining it in the future isn't going to help you get what you want from this relationship. You're going to take on damage trying to figure out how to change this man, how to clean this dirty man up and make him a diamond. And every bit of dirt you clean off of him will stick to you in trauma. We hear so much about how men dog women, how men drag women for years and years and pull them down. But if we're being honest, as quiet as it's kept, a lot of these women are trying to change these men, are trying to clean these dirty men up, are trying to help them, or trying to grow them, or trying to nurture them back to wholeness. And that's how they get damaged. That's how they get scuffed. That's how they get dirty. A lot of times a guy's not dragging a woman at all. She's dragging herself trying to clean this man. She's trying to stop a moving car. They've never been promised anything. They've never had any reason to believe that something different was going to happen or be promised to them. They've decided that if a man was just this way or that way, or believed this way or that way, or he had this type of support or that type of nurturing from her, he would become a better man. And so they offer all of these services thinking that they've earned the loyalty, earned the love, earned the respect from this man, that one day they might get exclusivity and security from him. And they don't get it. And then they tell everybody, hey, he dogged me. He dragged me. He ruined my life. He was so toxic. But they are the ones that decided to take on this project, this labor of love. Stop dating a man's potential because it turns you into a worker. You become like a woodworker trying to carve out and trying to smooth out and trying to gouge out all the nasty, all the shitty, all the dirty. When a man's not even looking to change. He's just looking to have peace. He's just looking to chill. He's just looking to do his thing. Every guy's not dragging and falsely representing himself to a woman. Some women just won't take no for an answer, and they think that they're going to spit shine this man clean, and that's just not the case. If you've had a lot of issues with men and you're watching this video, I want you to think very honestly. Okay, you don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to say anything out loud. You don't have to leave a comment, but think very honestly for just 1 minute. How much of your experience did you choose? And did you commit to? and how much of it was lies. Now, a lot of you will have trauma. A lot of you will tell me about your childhoods. We got to stay in context here. Okay. Every time I talk about how a woman assists a man in giving her a traumatic experience, people want to tell me about their fathers and mothers and childhoods and shit. Listen, that is a very relevant thing. And we've talked about that in videos, but that is not the context here. I'm talking about how many of you accepted from a man that which you knew was unacceptable because you hoped he would change, and you did that long term and gave yourself the traumatic experience. How many of you thought that maybe things would be different if you only got married, or if you only had a kid, or if you only loved him harder? How many of you dated a man for who you thought he would become after being loved by you instead of who he was and how he was loving you currently? Right now, as we speak, these are the things and these are the situations that a lot of women find themselves in, and they haven't done it before. They haven't taken on the trauma yet. Ladies, please start to encourage these women to do differently than what they've been doing. The quicker some of you take responsibility for what you contributed to your own experience, the quicker you can guide a young woman from doing the same thing. But as long as we deny what we've given ourselves, we can be of no help to somebody about to make the same decision. Stop dating a man for who you think he will be after being loved by you. Date a man for who he is right now, the individual, the character, the worker, the committer. Whatever he is right now, if that's not good enough to grow from, don't use your imagination to try to figure out where you'll be in 5 years with him. You shouldn't have to think that hard. As you date a man, you're taking on new information. When women decide they like a guy, they stop taking new information in. They only take the information in that validates their point of liking a guy. But you got to stop doing that. You have to keep taking information in, the good, the bad, the ugly, even if it invalidates your purpose of liking this man and trying to make him yours. Because once you stop taking in information, you start to date the potential for your vision, your fantasy, your idea of him to come to fruition. And while we hear all about manifesting and speaking those things that be not as though they were, you can manifest a lot of shit for you, but you can't manifest a whole nother individual from another individual. That's their problem. That's their job to manifest a different person. That's their job to grow, to evolve. That's their experience. It's not yours. So anyway, if you really want a shot at happiness and love and peace and joy and contentment and fulfillment, then you have to find somebody that gives you those same things in smaller doses right now and then grow from that. But some of y'all are trying to polish a pile of shit, and you're wasting your time and you're taking on damage at the same time. So again, ask yourself what you've contributed in your decision making with guys before you start to blame all men and say that all men are this or all men are that. Maybe just all the men you've chosen, all the men you've committed to, and all the men you've taken shit long term from. All the men you refused to accept the information that they gave you, that they wasn't ready, that they didn't have love to give, that they were not faithful, that they were not moral, that they did have no integrity. Every woman's experience isn't all her fault. But a lot of women experience things that are their fault, and they don't take inventory of those things, and that's how life repeats itself over and over and over. If you want a different experience, you have to do a different thing. Change will get you a different result, but you have to take inventory of what needs to change in you. So anyway, I hope that helps. Follow me at KidFig24 on Instagram. If you need a phone call, if you need email advice, go to girltalkwithguys.com. The link's down below. I'll get with y'all later.